Okay, we move on in the program, and now we have Dagnija Lazdina from senior researcher, Lapland State Forest Research Institute. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you. The topic is forest restoration mechanization from science to practice. I am going to tell about last 20 years because I am working in science just 20 years. And I decided to tell and to introduce you with activities going on in Latvia, which were happened during these years since I am in science. But SNS this year celebrates 50 years. And that's the same age as of me. So I started it in 1922. I born in 1923. And that's the same as SNS. So SNS in the same age as some of us. And and when I started to work in SILAVA, I had the opportunity to meet the generation who established that institute. And our institute is established at 1946. And they also tried to mechanize forest works. And those are pictures from last time again. Some ideas are still working, but that ideas are improved and some is kept in practice, but some is not. For example, this one is project of PhD thesis of my boss who involved me in science. That's unfinished PhD thesis, but this carousel that is still existing in practice. So some elements are kept and some are moved on. And also there is some concepts with borer who preparing the soil and then making the planting pit. And those ones also, they are very robust, but that is just beginning, and then it's transferring, then it's developing in science, and then it's transferring to practice. Nowadays, we use in the forest excavators, and we use this system of moving to be more bearing capacity, and to have to solve problems, to work in very wet and organic soils. This last one, that machine is machine who was tested in Latvia in 80s, and now this machine something similar. This machine developed and renamed it Plantma X. It's like Phoenix from ash. They started again because technologies are developed and because needs also are turned to the needs of mechanization of forest works, because there's no more so much labor wanted to work hard forest works. And also the pity thing is that because of this machine test in Latvia, a lot of practitioners were against of mechanization of forest planting because they tested it in very soft, wet and dry conditions. And that machine couldn't work in that conditions, which was prepared for that one test. And real research work started in our institute again, and collaboration, international collaboration after getting back of independence with the international project about using wood ash in forestry and how to mechanize it. And now, 20 years after 20 years, we do it. We invented it in practice, but in forestry it takes usually it takes 10 years from science to practice. We're starting to test. We're starting to think about it. We are looking for some gaps. We are looking for some things going to be update and make better. And also we are looking for results. And when we saw first good results from our tests, then we are ready to involve it in practice. And that's why it took a long way to invent that things in practice. The next one thing which were come first in science part and then to practice. And when we bringing Nordic experience to our Latvian and Baltic experience, it was energy wood. So to lift stamps, to move out trees in pre-commercial thinning for energy purposes, and also that ones when it's demanding from industry, then the scientists also trying to do some work with some equipment to do it better. For example, there is this stump lifting head operated in Latvia, which also have a device for soil preparation to do mounds in the same time, to lift stumps and to prepare soil for planting. We have a lot of funding sources for our research work. So when I presented our research results in previous conference, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and now there's 3 more. So we should look for a lot of projects to get funding for our ideas, to show that they are good, they could work, and to show our industry that there's reasonable to involve it in our real practice. Good example are mounds. At the beginning, we start to work with mechanized forest planting, but there was doubts from practitioners how it will work because they are planting on mounds. We use furrows. So after tests of planting results, we found that we did it with Risotec, not with Risotec, but with Brake and with M-planter. We found that trees not even survive better by mechanized planting or the same level, but they even grow better on mounds. There was like approval that mounds that is good thing, and mounds should not be very huge, like boulder. It could be like smaller hip, and that's enough for tree to grow better. And then we elaborated some schemes how to work with those mounds, and we found that as in our Latvian legislation, we should plant twice more as in Nordic one. We could use a little bit different approach for making of planting spot. So normally there is pit and mound. In our case, they're sometimes reasonable to use 1 pit and 2 mounds to increase planting place and to decrease, in the same time, to decrease level of mineralization. And we tested several adapted and usually used heads, and by the misunderstanding, that one were mounted. So this one, EPV 600, were mounted opposite, and they worked in opposite direction. And we decided that that's a good idea to make it similar for both sides. And we patented it. And after some years, we built it. And now it is in use. And that private forest owner who collaborated with us in that project, he still uses it. That opportunity to use 1 pit and 2 mounds. And there is video you could later on to see it. And then there was doubts from practitioners, will trees be stable enough? Maybe because they somewhere heard that in Sweden there's problems with trees planted at mounds. And we digged roots. We digged out roots to see where they are go, and how root system developed in mounds, and how they are developing in furrows made by disc trenchers. And we found not that what we are looking for. We found some other things. Yes, we found that these dark ones, that is root system depth, and the background is how high it was mound. So roots are going through mound in the 3rd or even sometimes in the 2nd year. But we found another thing. We found that there is problem with planting quality. And I think that problems with planting quality, that the root system are not appropriate placed in planting spot, could not happen with mechanized planting. Because with mechanized planting, the tools is that excavator has more power to plant correctly. And also we found that when we make in furrows, root system is developed like this one. So they are follow to furrow direction. But when we made mounds, root system is developing more evenly, like this one. And also we found that there is not any correlation with cardinal points. So when we are planting trees on mounds or heaps, smaller or bigger, and when the soil are in the same density in all directions, roots following to that one, and they are distributed more even. When we are looking on growth rate, when we planted those, using these two site preparation methods, those are results from wet or semi-wet soils. And in Latvia, we used to mark with orange pine, with violet spruce, and that was black alder, and those were birches. When birches are planted on mounds, they are growing very, very quick, and we could get result most faster, and we could skip one cleaning, and that's important. Later on, we tried once again, because we wanted to test productivity, we wanted to test different conditions, which were not done in first test, and finally we got result that 2 shifts in Latvia probably will not work in spring and in late autumn, because when it's below 0, and that's in night, seedlings are sticking to tube. As well, there are some findings about productivity, but Kristaps will tell about that one. And finally, the first merchant who started to plant mechanized planting, he got award of golden cone, but SILAVA got award about dissemination and publication. But that to help to invent that once again helped us and planter. Now in use are a different kind of planting mechanisms and also different kind of soil preparation device. As well, mounders are back in practice because when we are going to plant on hill, there's better to plant in heap. And when we are going to plant in down place, where it's more wet, it's better to plant on mound. And that one machine prepares both planting. When prices are going up, and during COVID times, we have some interest about copies, but that's falling down. It's like this one. That's why there's not yet a lot of copies in Latvia. But when we are trying to do something with poplars and willows, usually this experience and planting material comes from Sweden. During COVID times, we learned to collaborate and to work online and also make video excursions. And there's some set of our video excursions about energy wood, about forest fertilization, and also about growing of trees of abandoned areas. And one more finding that when we are doing something in forest after clear felling, we even increase, not decrease biodiversity. We increase biodiversity because there is different kind of conditions. And finally, we have plants which like to grow on mineralized soil, on less fertile soil, plants which wanted to grow on more wet conditions in pit, plants wanted to grow on heap, whereas more dry conditions. So finally, that's increasing of biodiversity. As well, when we are looking for some nature-based solutions, so they are. When we're preparing soil, we are doing the same job as these pigs do. They mineralize soil, and then the pine are coming in, and another trees are coming in. But we do the same with machines. And when we use seeds, we do the same as nature do. But we just selected seeds from the best stands, with more striped stems, which is more strength, which have less branches, and which are more tolerant to diseases. And we did tests in collaboration with our genetic specialists, and those tests were done after agriculture tending. So it means that there are cleaned already some trees, and trees left after some 73 to 75% of trees are from that origin from which these seeds are coming, which we sowed in. So if you are going to cooperate with the Latvian State Research Institute SILAVA, there is some topics on which we are working now. Our website are not the best one in English because we are more focused on local ones, and those more important scientific findings are published in papers. And you could find also on our website those articles which is recently published, as well reports or summary of reports which we just done. Thank you for attention.